Hi, everyone. My name is, I guess maybe I'll share my video as well. Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Graham. I'm chair of FCDC, and yes, there's a meeting tonight. You didn't read that incorrectly. We're going to start off while people are still kind of coming in by allowing a guest to address us. And that guest today is Shannon Taylor, who is the Commonwealth's attorney from Henrico. And a second, just so you can see her website on there, her picture or whatever. But Shannon, I'm going to give you the floor and allow you to talk to us for a few minutes.
Okay, so Brian, thank you so much, and good evening, Fairfax Dems. Everyone's starting to come into the meeting this evening. And Brian, just thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to say hello to everybody. I am going to acknowledge, which is probably the worst kept secret there for a while, about my interest to run for Attorney General in 2021. Obviously, our current Attorney General has expressed, he made his decision, expressed his interest in running for a third term. And I want everyone to know that, I consider Mark to be a friend, a respected colleague. And I'd always had made the decision and maintained the position that I would not make a formal announcement until the end of the year. So obviously his decision to run for a third term is something that I will strongly consider. But I did not want to miss out on this opportunity to say hello to the Fairfax Dems. You guys are really amazing. You're like you're our stalwart, Democratic committee here in the Commonwealth. Brian, I want to say thank you for the great Obama at Jefferson dinner that you put together last weekend. I was very proud to be able to join you guys there and listen to Paul Bagala, who gave us some incredible insight on what we know is really, really important. So that, you guys have been the demonstration, and like I said, could not appreciate all the hard work that you all have done across the Commonwealth and what you all have done for the Democratic committees everywhere. So I don't want to belabor what I know to be, you all have a great prosecutor, great elected Commonwealth attorney, Steve Descano. I do just want to say hello and introduce myself to those people who may not have met me before. So again, I am Shannon Taylor. I am the current Commonwealth attorney in Henrico County, 3 times elected. And I used to be able just to say that I beat Eric Cantor's hand-picked Bill Janus, plucked from the General Assembly in 2011. But now I get to say that I also have beaten Trump's ICE director in 2015. So Tony Pham, and I'm glad that I can say that as well. And when 2019 with a resounding 63%. So in Henrico County, we've got a lot of things that are going well from us. I am a member with Steve as we are 12 part of a member of Virginia Progressive Prosecutors for Justice. You probably have been keeping up with a lot of what Steve has been doing. So again, I'm not going to continue to talk about what the good work we're doing together in those areas. But I do want to highlight a couple things that have happened in Henrico, just so you can keep up with the good work I'm doing down in Henrico. And I want to highlight 2 things. The first thing being we had the trial of the KKK driver, this gentleman, Mr. Rogers, who drove into the protesters during a Black Lives Matter march. And when we put together the case in General District Court, we had charged the hate crime enhancement that the court did not agree with the way we argued our theory. So what did that do? That showed us that we have some work that needs to be done. And so I've already reached out to Senator Ghazala Hashmi. We are currently working on a new standalone hate crime that will be able to capture not only what we know has been demonstrated in the statute, where we were able to expand it last year with our great Democratic majority to include, race, gender, sexual orientation, but now we need to be able to focus on the intent of the individual who has this expression of hate. And it shouldn't be just because white people want to support our African-American brothers and sisters in these Black Lives Matters, that just because we are white, that should not take away from the hate that is the essence of the hate crime that these people are engaging in. So I'm going to be working with Senator Ghazala on that, looking forward to that. And then one of the other things that have happened in Henrico was the position I was able to get. We got a lot of good press back this summer for a deputy Commonwealth attorney in my office who was going to be working with the oversight of the police behavior. As everyone I know here has been keeping up with, we know that there's been big criminal justice reform. There's also been police reform, which this was going to touch too. And with police reform comes prosecutorial accountability. And so with that, we were going to make sure we had a system set in place where, you know, the community members could reach out to us if they were concerned about what was happening with police, as well as we were going to be much more aggressive about reviewing material and bringing certain problems to the chiefs of police attention. But the good news is we also have a new police chief in Henrico, so I'm excited about some of the changes he's actually talking about. And I think together we're going to be able to make some good progress in Henrico, and you'll be able to see real police reform happening in Henrico County, along with the support and the prosecutorial accountability. So those are two things that I wanted to highlight that's happening in Henrico. We have been making the changes to be part of the reform, whether it be with marijuana, whether it be with the idea of mental health. I want to applaud everything that Senator Boysko and Senator Vavola have been doing about focusing on not just mental health, but also individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. I have been a huge proponent of this idea of diminished capacity, which has not been recognized in the Commonwealth of Virginia, but to understand how important that is when we're talking about the interaction of citizens with law enforcement. And we've got to do a better job to make sure that everyone's educated and understanding the particularities of an individual who may have a particular diagnosis, and to understand that actions do matter. The way we interact with our citizens, fellow citizens, does matter. And so you'll be hearing me pushing that through the rest of the special session as we are coming to the halfway mark there, as well as you'll be hearing me speak a lot of that in the general session coming up in January. So Brian, I just wanted to say thank you again. I really appreciate being here this evening. I know you've got a full agenda, and more importantly, we have a big target on November 3rd. And I know that we are all working together to make sure that we have the best president, vice president candidates, and we get Biden and Harris in the White House, and also that we're going to work really hard to make sure we are keeping our congressional Democratic majority. I'll be helping out Abigail Spanberger. I know you guys have got great representation there, and with Jennifer Wexton and Jerry Connolly and Don Beyer. So I look forward to all watching how we're all going to be working hard together to win big in November 3rd. So Brian, thank you again. And I look forward to seeing Fairfax Democrat real soon.
Thanks so much for joining us, giving us some updates, and
Yes.
and we look forward to hear what's next for you. So
Thanks. Appreciate it. Have a good evening.
All right. Thank you. Okay, let me share my screen again, if I can. And just again, that's Shannon. She talked about the Virginia Progressive Prosecutors for Justice, and there's also her website there as well, if you want more information from her. So now we're getting into it, and I'm just gonna, this is a new platform that we're using today. I think a lot of people probably are familiar. It's Zoom, a Zoom webinar in fact. So I'm going to go through types of things that we will do to use this platform today for this meeting. So let me stop my video so you can see this full. All right. So asking a question. There are kind of three things you'll see in the bottom of your screen, and I see some people are already chatting. So obviously that's one of those things. I can't do anything about my voice, Marita, I'm sorry. So I'm doing my best, although I hear my internet connection is strangely not amazing. But so number one, asking a question. If you have and sorry, George Becerra sent a question in for Shannon Taylor, and I missed it until now. Use the Q&A feature if you have a question. This will send a message to Jack and myself, which will be watching don't send us a message through chat. We will not be monitoring the chat. So if you're trying to send us a message, send us a message through the Q&A feature. We can respond via private to you, or if it's appropriate, we can respond to the full committee, either through text or by talking as well. If you really don't want us to respond to everyone, tell us, just put private in your message, just so we will be sure just to respond just to you. So how do you do that? There's that Q&A box on the bottom of your screen. And just click on it and you can enter your question in the box. There is a question, where is the participants screen? I'm not sure exactly what, I'm not exactly sure what what that question is supposed to mean, but we have seen some of your messages as well. So I mean, hopefully, if you're looking at the bottom of your web browser or on your phone, whatever, you might have to touch the screen just to see the Q&A. The next item is how to raise your hand. Click on, okay. Click on raise hand to indicate that you would like to speak. If it's an issue where you would like to speak in favor or in opposition of a motion, if we're kind of having a prolonged discussion, which I hope we really don't have, but if we do, send us a Q&A message instead with whether or not you are in favor or in opposition of the motion, so that we can balance debate. So again, to raise your hand, if you just want to speak in general, click the raise hand button. And then lastly, before I get into questions about the platform, how to vote. When a counted vote is required, you'll see kind of a thing that looks like this. It says a poll, and you'll see a question and some options. Click on the option that works for you, and then click on the submit thing at submit at the bottom of the screen. Submit, and then kind of the next thing after you do that. Well, after you do that, the winner will appear. But after voting has concluded, we will share the results with everyone, and you'll be able to see the results. As in this example. So kind of before I move on, there is one question about, it has been noted that raising hand and so forth may appear at the top of your screen on an iPad. I did not try an iPad, sorry. So it may be at the top or bottom of your screen, but I think the icons pretty much look like what I showed. The participants, it turns out people were looking for the participants list. Apparently, we can share the number. I think depending on whether you're on a computer or not, you should be able to see the number of participants and panelists. I'm going to drag that over to the screen so that you can see that right now. But it doesn't look like I can show this to everyone all the time. So I will, if we are going into debate or whatever, and people are raising their hands, I'll bring it back over so people can see kind of the order that we're following, the order of people who are requesting to speak. So there's some transparency there, but unfortunately I can't share the participant list with everyone. It just seems like I can share the count of participants in the call. And this is a Zoom webinar, so it's just a little bit different, unfortunately. So with that said, I think the list of questions, but if you have a question, raise your hand. Or send us a question, and we've already answered some of these questions. Right, so this is not a regular meeting, a regular Zoom meeting. You should not. It looks like Kia's question is, can I disable my camera? It may have asked you to access your camera, but your camera is not being shown. No one's seeing your cameras unless you want to be seen. we can make that happen. But for the most part, I think we'll just be um, uh, we'll just be turning on people's audio. So unless someone's making a vice chair report, we probably won't be turning on their cameras. So hopefully that answers your question, Kia. The current count right now, I'll pull it back over. You have to kind of look over here in tiny letters or whatever, but we have 234 participants right now. That's 2 panelists, Jack and I, who Jack, I guess, will be a member shortly, and 232 attendees. And we are taking attendance. We have a record of all of the people who are attending this meeting. So you do not need to, unless you didn't provide us the correct name or something, you don't need to send us a message. But with that said, we're going to move on to the agenda since we're 18 minutes in, and the minutes as well. And the minutes were sent out, as were the agenda earlier. And I guess are there any changes to the agenda or the minutes? I'll pull over the minutes, but hopefully everyone's already seen them. And they're probably going to be tiny on your screen, and I don't know anything to do with that other than tell you, if you'd like to see them, if you haven't seen them already, you go back to your email. So are there any changes, either by raising your hand or in the comments? Are there any changes to the minutes or the agenda? Not seeing any requested changes. I will move on to the second part of this. Is there any objection to approving the agenda or minutes? Yes. Approves, and we'll move on to the approval of new members. So the list of new members now appears on the screen. I'm not going to read them all, but you know, I'm very. Is there a motion to approve the new members? It is moved by Matthew Savage, and I'll take a second from James Bierman, Jimmy Bierman. We will, if there's no discussion, we will move to, so the poll's already in place and people are voting. So go ahead and make your selection. Just as a reminder, you should see it on your screen until you make your selection and click submit. Once you've done that, it will go away. We will show you the result at the end, although it seems like a foregone conclusion at this point. Okay, let's go ahead, and then most people have voted now. So let's, 10 seconds left to vote. And we can share the results. Okay, so the motion carries. Thank you. Next is the election of Regional Vice Chair South. So I'll start my camera for this for a second. We can stop sharing results. We put out a message to everyone kind of seeking candidates for this position. I called a couple people, but at this point there are no nominees. So I guess we'll open the floor for nominees. But I guess I'll just point out it's not necessarily by our bylaws we are supposed to fill this at our next meeting. But if we don't have a candidate, we'll look for one and and move on. But the regional vice chair is a person from Lee, Mount Vernon, or Springfield districts, who's a member of FCDC, who helps coordinate joint campaign activities, which is kind of mostly complete for this year, but will be a bigger thing for next year with the gubernatorial and other statewide elections. And in addition, there is some kind of support necessary in coordinating the maintenance of the South County office that FCDC has as well. So, apparently, I'm seeing in chat, but if you have a comment, just since some people kind of have come in later, since some people have come in later, if you were sending us a message, if you want to send Jack and I a message, use the Q&A feature. Jack and I are not watching the chat, so the chat is if you all want to talk to each other. So, but I see some hand raised. So if you want to talk right now about Vice Chair South, whatever, for a reason, and you have your hand raised, I'm going to call on you. So the first person on my list I have here is Toby and Lindsay. So I'm going to ask them to unmute or. And maybe they didn't mean to have their hands raised, but. Okay, I'll move on to George Becerra.
Good evening, Brian. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Quick question. So this vacancy, didn't we vote on a person last meeting? And if that's the case, so this is our third person in several months, or we're looking for a third person in several months. I'm assuming organization-wise, I'm assuming the North and the Central will take over some of the slack, and of course, the district committees. But I guess in this position, is it just people aren't realizing how hard it is? Are there personalities into play? You know, a little background on this, because I mean, have you seen this in the last several years that you've been involved, that the vice chair of a region it's a high turnover? This is real high turnover.
Right. So I mean, thanks, George. So the first vice chair who resigned, Julie Shepard, did so just because of COVID. She wanted to take care of her family. She had other priorities. I think that, you know, is fine or whatever. And Tim ran for it, and then I guess I don't know if it was he didn't understand the responsibilities or whatever else, but for whatever reason he felt like he chose to resign. So you know, we have had regional vice chairs resign in the past. Right now it's not a huge responsibility, I don't think, but there is some kind of coordination for the South County office that is a responsibility. But that's all I can really say. I mean, you know, I would actually kind of prefer to talk to someone about the job before kind of just throwing them into it. But we are where we are. So, Iman, did you have a question or comment? And then I see Liz Walker too. If you don't want to speak right now, please click lower hand, because I'm going to talk to you, or you know, I don't want to waste time clicking on people that don't actually want to talk. Okay, Liz Walker.
I apologize. I was trying to get your attention while you were still on new members. You had Blair Cooper down for Springfield. The last time I was aware, Blair Cooper was a member of Sully, but just questioning it, whether it needs to be checked out.
And that's probably my fault. I was pulling the list, and I'm sure that was entirely my fault. So I apologize. But that it doesn't have any effect of whether or not they were elected.
Okay.
Okay, oops, I did that wrong. I guess Cisco Minthorn.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
That's good. Can you speak a little bit more about what responsibilities the vice chair South would have?
Sure. So they're sorry. So the vice chair, the regional vice chairs are responsible for a couple of things, and you can, if you are interested, right. So the regional vice chairs are responsible for a couple of things. One, they are kind of like my deputies, right? So if I'm not able to run a meeting, that's their responsibility. Two, and we can let Paul or Manisha talk about it if we like. Two, they're responsible for putting together a joint campaign. So last year is the big joint campaign where we have to elect a whole bunch of people in Fairfax County. This year is not as big of a deal, but we do run kind of an absentee chase program. And then there are kinds of other delegated responsibilities. In this case, for the southern region, we have an office in the south part of the county that we just need to coordinate volunteers for. So hopefully that answers your question. I'm gonna see if I can let Paul talk about it. Paul Davis is the first vice chair of FCDC, so he's one of the regional vice chairs, North.
What's up?
Paul, do you have anything to add?
No, I mean, you pretty much covered it. We work together. We're just the absentee program is something we're putting together that we're kind of like learning the basics of it now for full implementation next year. So definitely, if you're like, there's a opportunity to learn about how it works, and we'll actually be looking to expand that knowledge base overall for the overall organization about the program, so more people can understand it going forward. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay, thank you. My apparently I'm hearing back now. My and sorry, I didn't mean to ask you to unmute again, Paul. Apparently my audio is not very good. I was hearing it back that time. So if there's no objection, maybe we just pass on this for now. If you're interested, send me an email. Let's talk about it. There's no kind of set hours on how long it takes. I mean, when we're building a joint campaign, it probably takes a little bit longer than usual. But I'd have to kind of go back to Paul or Manisha to ask how many hours they spend on the job.
I think it depends on any given week. A couple of hours a week, and of course during our local elections, we are much more busier, and it takes many more hours of work. But then during general elections, especially this year, it has been pretty steady, like a couple of hours a week, maybe. So that's it. It's not a huge commitment, but then yes, it also depends on which year you are talking about.
Right. The last year, the every 4 years, fourth year is a much larger commitment. Okay. Without kind of any nominations, I guess I'm just going to we're just going to move on for now. But if you are interested, please kind of reach out to me. I'd love to talk to you about it. We can get you in kind of involved before then. Although we don't meet again until November, apparently I have a nomination. So Aaron Yohai, Chair Braddock, go ahead.
Thank you, Brian. Can you hear me? I see my name. All right. I would like to nominate Rodrigo Velasquez from Lee District. I know that he's a tireless advocate for immigration rights, LGBTQ rights, and the right of choice. He is Delegate Kathy Tran's Chief of Staff, and I think he'd be an outstanding choice for this position.
Okay. I gotta find him on here. Let's see if he. Rodrigo, are you there? Would you like to, or would you accept?
I accept this nomination after hearing all this discussion about this position, and yes, I do. Do I have to say anything else? I'm happy to speak more.
Well, let's see if there's any other nominations. I know that there was someone who was interested previously. So if they are still interested, please send me a message right now. Oh, hold on. Here's Maria. Hi, Maria.
Hi there. I would like to nominate a person who's had a longstanding active role in the Mount Vernon Dems, and that's Kate Spears. She would be fantastic in that position.
Okay. Let me find Kate. Kate, are you there? You go. Do you accept, Kate?
Yes, I do
nomination?
accept. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other nominations? Kate was nominated by Maria Burrell. Okay, last call for nominations. If there are no objections, I will move that nominations are closed. Okay, so let's give, I don't know, a couple minutes to each of the candidates, just in cognizance of everyone's time with things going on. Let's try to keep it to 3 minutes each, if that's possible. You are presenters, so you should be able to, I'll stop sharing my screen, and you should be able to share your camera if you'd like, or not if you don't want to. I have no idea how to decide. Kate, your video appeared first. Go ahead, Kate.
Hi, my name is Kate Spears. For those who haven't met me, I have been active with Fairfax Democrats for about 15 or 20 years now. I have served as the chair of a district committee of the Mount Vernon Committee for a couple years. I have never been a vice chair, a regional vice chair, but I think it's a role I would do a good job in. And I'm happy to serve if the folks voting would like to see me do it. But I am very much appreciative of Maria for nominating me, and I'm honored to serve however I can.
Okay, thanks, Kate. Rodrigo?
Oh, I got the good lighting on me. Hi, everyone. My name is Rodrigo, and I am actually a newer Democrat per se. I am come to this country about 20 years ago, and I've made this my home. I called Lee District home since I was elementary at Limbrook Elementary School. And after hearing about the need for this role, I thought, why don't I just throw my hat in? I've never really run for anything because most of the my life, I've been an undocumented immigrant. And the first time I actually ever got to vote was for the nominating for our school board members to be the Fairfax Democrats nominating people that would be nominated by the committee. And that was a really exciting time for my life. And I'm really excited to potentially step into a new role. As some of you might know, grew up in the area, call this area my home. I love this area and would be happy to serve in any role that's available. I have both legislative and campaign experience in the recent years, particularly within my role with Delegate Kathy Tran's office. I'm a lifelong activist for issues near and dear to my heart, having been undocumented most of my life. I'm someone who's gay and just someone who's seen the injustices against so many people, and hope to be able to bring all of me to the role if elected, and look forward to working with Fairfax Democrats now and in the future, and hopefully next year when I apply to become a citizen of this country.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions for the candidates, or should we move forward to the vote? There was one question, but I don't know what, any other questions? If not, oh wait, George. Maria, did you still want to have your hand raised? No, I guess not. Okay, George, do you have a question?
Oh, yes, just to the candidates. I guess for most of the term, it's going to be next year. So we got our statewide elections, primaries in November. So to the candidates, what's your thought process of how you would, in the position, if you would become the vice chair South, to your role, or what would you bring different or new? It seems like we have two different contrasts, a new person, but has been much experience, obviously campaigning, versus someone also who has running multiple campaigns and has done great work and for many years. Just want to hear their thoughts on next year. We're changing. How do you see yourself next year doing things differently? What's worked, what's not worked, and just to see, for me to analyze who I would vote for.
Okay, George, thank you. I guess we'll go to Rodrigo first, and I'll go to Kate next, obviously.
Yeah, well, thanks very much for the question. I come from a very different background than a lot of people in my life. And I think I could use that in the communities that I've been a part of that have historically not been connected to the political or even electoral process to really get them engaged. As I shared previously, I'm not even a citizen of this country. A lot of my family members and the people that I love, friends, family, have never really been involved in democratic politics or even the political process to begin with. And I think their voices are really important. Having, like I shared, grown up here since I was in elementary school and having graduated from what's now John Lewis High School, I have deep roots in this community and would really work hard to ensure that we're lifting up those voices, those most marginalized who should be at the forefront of our political dialogue, because they're the ones that, should continue to be invested in. I think that's where we see Democrats are strongest, when we build up and expand our coalition to be strong and to not only win elections, but to pass good policies that uplift everybody.
Okay, thank you. And Kate?
Well, I'd like to start out by saying the good news is whichever person the committee selects, you're going to have a rock star for a vice chair South. We've got a good organization down here amongst all three districts. So the good news is, regardless of who you vote for, we're going to do well. On that note, what I can bring is not just experience, and I do have a lot of experience in a variety of roles with the committees, including serving on committees within FCDC, as well as within my own district. But also I'm very open to learning. I'm very new to online technology and online meeting. Mount Vernon just had an amazing ice cream social where I learned more in 6 weeks about doing Zoom calls with different meeting rooms and different breakout rooms and all that than I have in the last 6 years. I don't know if Zoom's been around for 6 years, but what I would bring to the role in the coming year is both a base of experience as well as a wealth of willingness to reach out to all parties, small p, not big P, everybody within the 3 districts, and to get lots of different perspectives, because the more perspectives you have, the more fully you're going to be able to reach out to groups, to reach out to organizations not necessarily aligned with the Democrats, but where we share the values that we can mobilize and organize to keep all 3 of our statewide offices in Democratic hands and keep the House in Democratic hands. So that's what I would bring, is both a wealth of experience and a willingness to bring in lots of different people to get lots of new perspectives.
Okay, thank you both for the information. I feel we've learned a bit about both of you, and let's call the vote. So, Jack, you're going to press the button so that we don't press it at the same time, or do you want me to do it? Oh, there we go. So good luck to both our candidates. Okay, last call for votes, and not everyone's voted. Okay, go ahead and end polling.
You gotta be kidding.
And congratulations to Rodrigo.
Congratulations, Rodrigo. Well done.
Oh my gosh, I painted my nails just for tonight too. I'm so excited. Thank you all so much. And thank you, Kate, for always being so amazing and putting your name out there. I look up to you a lot. Thanks so much for being a good friend too.
As always, whatever you need, I'm here to support you.
Oh, pretty people. Yes, we love it.
Okay, thanks to you both. And I'm gonna kick you back out to to a regular attendee. Okay, I don't have any other questions, so let's move on. The next step is treasurer's report. So Nadia. Uh-oh, what happened to Nadia?
I'm trying to unmute. I unmuted.
Oh, there we are. There you are. We can see you now.
You can
Well,
see
we can
my-
see you,
my
but
avatar.
I can see an avatar of you. Am I sharing my screen? I think I am.
Yeah, I don't know if I can get
No, I'm not.
my screen back on. I don't know how to do it in this new version.
Oh, it's okay. We can.
But you can hear me.
Oh, okay.
You can hear me, right? Oh, start video. That's what I'm gonna do. There I am. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
And can you put up the treasurer's report too?
I
No,
don't think she can hear you.
I can't hear anyone else, but I can tell, I can say I don't see the treasurer's report on the window. So is anyone putting the treasurer's report up? Because it's hard to talk. I can talk about it without it up there, but I just want to make sure that it's going to be up there. Okay. I'm going to start talking about it and you guys can tell me if you can't hear me. All right. So I have on the first page of the treasurer's report a summary of where we stand. You know, we've been taking in money like in all sorts of different ways, and we had a very, very successful Jefferson Obama dinner, which actually, I think we're actually going to come in like maybe within $500 of our budgeted amount, which is really, really amazing. It doesn't show that yet in the treasurer's report because all the credit card contributions that came in this month are not in the report yet. District committees are busy spending money, so they have spent down a lot of their money. So at this point, FCDC has $147,000 in the bank and the district committees have about 70,000. And there we are, beginning balance. That's what I'm talking about, the first page. And then I guess it's kind of like out of this thing's out of the, sorry about this. All right, so you can see that income net of fundraising costs, 121,000. We've spent some money, but we still have a lot to spend on the voter contact. And so I guess generally we're doing okay. And I think it would be better if anybody has lots of questions to get me to send them the link so they can look at it. District committees, all of them except for the two, which would be Lee and Braddock, have had their dues to us taken out. We're still waiting for Lee and Braddock to finish the month, hopefully with enough fundraising so that they feel comfortable in letting us take their money. And we have, I think that's it. I mean, if anybody has questions, please ask. I don't hear you.
Okay. Yeah. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Brian.
Okay. My internet is apparently terrible right now. Of course. So thanks, Nadia. I could hear you. I don't know if everyone could see the report the whole time. I'm going to skip my chair's report for a moment so that we can go to campaign reports and to see if I can fix my internet. So we're gonna try that at least. So Jack, I need you to take control to let Hannah, if she's here, speak. Or do we have any of the Virginia victory? Oh, okay.
Hi, I hope everyone can hear me. Let me know if you can't, but it looks like it's working now. Okay, perfect. That's what I love to hear. Yeah, so hi, my name is Hannah. I just joined last week as an organizer with Jennifer Wexton's campaign. It's been really fantastic. And so I just wanted to give you a quick update of where we're at. Like most campaigns at this point, everything is completely remote. So we are doing phone banking, and we will be starting text banking soon. So our goal with both of those things, because Jennifer is looking in a pretty good position, at least compared to 2018, where she had to unseat the incumbent and now she is the incumbent. Our goal is to turn out as much of the early vote as possible, because that tends to favor Democrats. That will help her. That will help cement her lead. So that is what we are doing as we focus on calling and texting voters. We are reaching out to people who are likely Democrats, who are strong Democrats, who tend to vote Democrat but don't always vote, making sure that they know not just about Jennifer, but about early voting and all the in-person early voting options that are new this year. So we have lots of great resources about that. We have a list of every county in the district, every city in the district, and the early voting locations there, as well as all of the satellite locations and when those will be. So we have a lot of great information. We're ready to get that out to the voters. We just need your help doing that. So I am going to drop a link in the chat. We are also identifying support, not just for Jennifer Wexton, but for Mark Warner and Joe Biden. And so, every call that you make is sort of a 3-for-1 deal, bang for your buck. So we would love to have you for our phone bank parties. Our phone bank links are open, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. all day, every day. But for our phone bank parties, we do them Monday through Thursdays at 5 and at 7 p.m. and then Saturdays at noon and 2. We also have a couple of days of action coming up with some local candidates in the first weekend of October. So definitely stay tuned for some information on that. But all of the information about shift times is in that link. I'm also, if I can find it, give me 1 second, going to put a link for our text bank training. We're very excited to start texting. We will be using a platform called Outvote, which I have not used before, and I'm very excited about because it actually allows you to text not just through the list that you are given, but through your contacts. It allows you to see who in your contacts lives in the district, and you can get in touch with them and help them make a plan to vote. So for our text bank training, that link is here. And then finally, the last link that I want to share is for everybody's favorite, yard signs. We are helping out with the local committees to keep track of all the yard signs and the distribution. So if you would like a yard sign, just fill out this form. All that you will need to put is your name, email, address. We're distributing them all across the 10th district. And we have both combined signs for Biden, Warner, and Wexton, and just regular Jennifer Wexton signs. So all of your yard sign needs, we got them. That's about it. We're really, looking for volunteers. We are now 6 weeks to the day exactly from the most important election of our lifetimes. So whatever you can do to help us out would be greatly, greatly appreciated. I personally recruited both of my parents to make some calls this week. And I know Jennifer is greatly appreciative of all of the work that volunteers across the district are doing, and she very much understands just how important this election is. So if you have any questions, I'm also going to put my contact information in the chat, and you can feel free to reach out to me at any time. Email is probably the better way to reach me, but whatever works best for you.
Okay, let's see. Thanks, Hannah. Let's see if this is working any better now. So for my chair's report, just a couple things, right? So I think probably a lot of you have heard about what happened at the Fairfax County Government Center on Saturday when the Republicans kind of drove around the parking lot with their motorcycles and pickup trucks, blaring their horns during early voting, and then came to the front of the entrance and congregated, kind of obstructing people walking on the sidewalk. If you haven't heard about that, go read the New York Times about it, or NBC Washington and whatnot. But my point kind of in all of this is that we should not be scared. The Republicans are scared because they know they're losing, and Donald Trump knows he's losing. And the only way that they can then win is by cheating, by rigging the mail, by embracing foreign influence, by discouraging voters to vote. We know we're going to win, and we're going to win big. So don't be discouraged. And we just all of us need to kind of consider all the options that are out there on voting. Let our friends and family know about that, and just commit to voting early. So that's kind of my main message for the chair's report. I think there's really just two other things just to keep things moving. One, I've appointed a task force on caucuses and the composition of the steering committee. So we've had come up a couple times the idea of adding caucuses to FCDC, and I've created a task force that has people from every district on it. Its first meeting will be on October 30th, October, September 30th at 7:30 p.m. I don't think it's on the FCDC calendar yet, but it will be soon. So if you have an opinion on this, obviously you will be welcome to join us for that. The other thing is we've tried a couple times before, but haven't been completely successful with pulling together the local state and local affairs standing committee. But we have a meeting called, we did a poll of people who are interested and have enough people interested in the meeting this Friday at 5 p.m. And Jack will have to correct me if it's not on FCDC's calendar yet, but it has been scheduled for this Friday. I think that's really it for me, and we can move on to our vice chair's reports. And let me just make sure that everything's going on all right. Okay. Okay, on to vice chair reports, and our first vice chair report will be from Susan Johnson. And I can't find my participant. There it is. Oh, I can't find. Oh, okay, thank you.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Hi, I'm Susan Johnson. I'm one of your 3 vice chairs of Precinct Ops, the other 2 being mis amigas Maria Vorel and Maggie Godbold. We call ourselves the Tres Amigas because it's more fun. And we basically have 3 asks for you tonight. You know, as you know, we're in charge of making sure the precincts are all set for early voting and election day. This year, there's a continuum of how, at what level the precincts and early voting sites will be staffed. Just due to COVID, we are not requiring that people staff their precinct fully. We will, and we're not going to be passing out sample ballots just because, passing out something with hands is, kind of germy. So we are having printed these extremely large signs in various formats that have the sample ballot on them. And then they will serve, to educate people as they're going into the polls, what the Democrats are asking people to vote for. And, we've personalized the signage at every polling location to fit that polling location exactly, so that all the approaches are covered, the right, in ground or hanging or, upright signs. So, we should have just the right signs for just the right locations. And so even if the polling place is not staffed at all, people will see, the way Democrats want the voters to vote when they arrive. They won't be able to miss it because the signs are really big. And some places will be staffing. And, then the main job is, hey, look at the, here's a Democratic sample ballot. We're not passing out paper ones this year because of COVID. We don't want to inadvertently pass the germs on to you. So we want to be safe. So take a picture and take it in with you. And the response with this at the early voting at the government center so far has been fantastic. People are very appreciative that this is what we're doing. And a lot of them chime in, yeah, and you're saving trees too. That's awesome. So, it's been great. So please be ready to help out when your district puts out the ask to help with the early voting or election day staffing, whether it's setting up things at the beginning of the day, taking it down, or checking in during the day to make sure all the equipment's safe, or whether you staff it, which is okay. There are going to be waivers for anybody volunteering, which you'll hear more about, from your district people, because we don't quite have them ready yet. We are asking, in fact, I'm going to put the link in the chat in a few minutes. The government center, mostly because of the incidents that Brian described in his notes tonight, we are wanting to have people at the Fairfax County Government Center for early voting, which is, going on there now every day, except Sundays and Columbus Day. Probably every Saturday. They haven't announced it yet, but until the 31st. And I have a sign up genius for that. And I'll put the link in the thing, because we do want at least one person there all the time, even if you're just sitting in your car and every half an hour just going up and making sure the Republicans haven't put our sandwich boards somewhere else, which they did once. But, it's been minor stuff, easily taken care of. They've been very polite to us, all the time. They just did that once. So we really want somebody there all the time. So please sign up. It's been lovely. Lots of voters. It's exciting. People are happy. So help your district with staffing, help us out at the government center. And then our last ask is that, especially since we aren't going to be handing out paper ballots, we do want to make sure that every Democrat possible gets their eyes on a sample ballot, mostly because we want them to see that we are not supporting that first constitutional amendment, the redistricting amendment. And, so if we can get the sample ballot to as many people as possible ahead of time, that would be really awesome. So if you can, the best way to get a hold of one is to go to this awesome website that we have just, the FCDC has put out, I can't say it, ffxvotes.org. If you haven't seen it yet, you will be so impressed when you see it. But you can find out everything about voting at this website. You can please push this out to all your friends. Anybody who is, can I return this? Do I have to bring in my absentee mail-in ballot when I go to vote in person? All those kinds of questions are answered on this site, and you can download the sample ballot that's specific for your precinct. And it's just really awesome. So check that out and download a sample ballot, and, you do it for personal use, and, share it with your friends and family, and so that everybody knows the way Democrats want you to vote. Okay, I'm going to drop those two links in the chat for the sign up genius for the government center and this ffxvotes.org. Great, thanks so much. Look forward to your help with Election Day. Onward to victory.
Thanks, Susan. Thank you so much. And I will just add to reinforce what you've said, because there have been a lot of people that are dissenting about not having paper ballots. Can you hear me, Susan?
Yes.
Okay. So I just want to reinforce that, like, really for the most part, everyone just understands that it's kind of a contactless way to get the information. The question has been, what are we doing if people don't have their phones? The candidates all have their have a D next to their name. And if you say vote no on one, vote yes on everything else, that pretty much accomplishes it. So it hasn't been a huge problem. It really hasn't been a huge problem. There have been a couple people that seem just really tied to the paper sample ballots, but the world is changing, and we're still going to win. So we're going to win big. We're going to win bigger than we did in 2016 in Fairfax County. So anyway, so thanks, Susan. I think next I want to move on to election protection, election law and voter protection. They can also probably, well, yes. Okay. So I'm not sure which one of them wants to speak, but let's, I don't know. I'm having so much trouble with this today. see if we can get Kristen. Hey, Kristen.
Hi.
Do you want to be on video or are you?
Sure, you can put me on video.
Okay. Okay, go ahead, Kristen. You should be able to share your video now.
Oh, I see. Okay, hold on. Is it coming in? Oh, great. Hey, hi, everyone. So, when it comes to voter protection, there's a few things you should know. One, we are very much in need of poll observers, particularly on election day itself in key targeted precincts. We could also use inside poll observers if you're so brave during these COVID times to do that at key times for early voting. And most particularly, those would be Saturdays at the satellites when we expect more people to show up. And that's traditionally been the case in years past. We're working in concert with the state party, the DPVA, the Democratic Party of Virginia, when it comes to signups. And you can go to vademocrats.org/poll observer to sign up to do that. We could also use Democratic observers in the pre-processing of mail-in absentee ballots in what's called the CAP, the Central Absentee Precinct. We could even use, potentially, though it's low priority, Democratic poll observer at the logic and accuracy testing of the voting machines, which happens in a very old, dusty warehouse down in Springfield. And then also, when you do sign up, I would encourage you, one, to sign up for Fairfax County. Unless you are very interested in going beyond our borders, going elsewhere in Nova or elsewhere in the state, feel free, but we could really use you here in Fairfax County. And then also, please check off when you sign up that you're willing to work the post-election canvas, which is basically the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, could even bleed into Saturday, maybe slightly even Sunday, Monday. Hopefully we'll be done on Saturday, where you're a Democratic observer watching the election officials and the election staff basically canvass the votes and check it for accuracy, and then that will allow our local Fairfax County Electoral Board to certify the votes and send those numbers down to Richmond to the State Board of Elections around either end of the day, Monday after Election Day, or Tuesday, fingers crossed. I also want to bring up drop boxes. So there's a number of you, like myself, who will not be voting in person. But we asked for mail-in ballots. I received mine yesterday, and I prefer to put it in a drop box. And where we are at on drop boxes is that, as you know, early voting right now is only at the main government center through October 14th. Right now, the drop box for your mail-in ballot to be dropped into at that main government center is in the polling place rooms on the first floor of the main government center. It's a blue wooden box. That is temporary. We are hoping that if not by close of business on Friday, hopefully Saturday, and if it bleeds past Saturday and we don't vote on Sundays, hopefully definitely by Monday, there should be an outdoor red metal mailbox-like drop box on the left side parking lot, where traditionally there have been mailboxes, if anything, for tax payments. But the one that's closest to the building is now going to be dedicated to ballots. And particularly, it's the one closest to the building because the officials will be installing a camera on the main government center trained on that drop box to watch it 24/7, because that will put us in compliance to use such an outdoor drop box with the regulations of the Department of Elections of the state government in Richmond and the State Board of Elections. So hopefully, I'm hoping by no later than, let's say, Monday lunchtime, we're going to be able to start using that outdoor drop box. On the inside of the main government center, hopefully by the time the satellites open on October 14th, they're going to hopefully replace that current blue wooden box inside the actual polling place with a large, tall, corrugated plastic drop box that will be in the lobby of the main government center, guarded by probably at least 2 election officers. Right now, those corrugated plastic drop boxes haven't been received from the supplier. It's also those type of drop boxes that will be at every one of the 14 satellite locations out in the lobby of those buildings from October 14th to Halloween, Saturday, October 31st. And similar boxes will also be at every one of the 243 precincts on election day, just outside the polling room of your polling place building. And all those, again, will also be guarded by an election officer. And we will keep you up to date in our FCDC e-newsletters and on the Fairfax Votes website, and hopefully maybe even on the main fairfaxdemocrats.org website as to the latest and greatest on drop boxes. Because as you know, we don't trust the current U.S. Postal Service to safely deliver our ballots and not lose them en route or have them fall through the cracks. And some people really just don't want to vote in person for a whole variety of reasons. And then also do look at that fairfaxvotes.org, the ffxvotes.org that Jack had pulled up earlier, and go into the mail-in ballot kind of button on the homepage, scroll to the bottom, and you'll see something called Ballot Scout. And if you have requested a mail-in ballot, you can track your ballot en route to you from the Office of Elections and the Registrar's Office. There you go. And also, if you were to use the U.S. Postal Service, it would also track it back. And then even if you use a drop box, it should be recorded that it's been received. So after a certain amount of time, after you've dropped it off in the drop box, or if you're so brave to use the U.S. Postal Service, you should go to the Ballot Scout. You should check it out. And if it seems to be kind of stuck en route and it's not really, making its way back to the registrar's office, that should be a red flag to call the Office of Elections and the registrar's office and say, why is it taking, past 8 days or something for my ballot to be recorded as received? So there you have it. And now I'll pass the baton over to Stephen.
Okay, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so a couple things. First of all, I don't think Kristen mentioned that we really need volunteers. You sign up with the state for this, for DPVA voter protection, for the central absentee precinct, where there will be, according to the registrar and the Fairfax Electoral Board, a majority of the votes in Fairfax County will go to the cap. That's everybody who votes early in person at the Fairfax Government Center or any of the 14 satellites, plus everybody who votes by mail and everybody who puts their marked absentee ballots into the drop boxes. Now, there is an issue that has come up, which is very concerning. We discussed this in steering. Brian sent a memo to the Fairfax County Electoral Board and the registrar, and another memo to the State Board of Elections and the Elections Commissioner concerning this. For whatever reason, the position of the Fairfax County Registrar is that if a person with a disability shows up outside of a voting location, and this could be the Fairfax Government Center now, I mean, people have been getting their absentee ballots, and wants to drop off their ballots, but is entitled to reasonable accommodations, that is to say, having somebody come outside and take their ballot from them, rather than having to try to go inside of the polling location and drop it off personally. That issue has still not been resolved. The registrar's office is, according to the registrar, is awaiting guidance from the state. And we have repeatedly asked for such guidance from the state and have not yet received it. So keep that in mind. Hopefully when we have a disposition of that, we'll let you know. But that is an issue that has arisen and of course has statewide applicability. There was a question that I think
I have a lot of questions for you all, by the way. So, and maybe we'll get to some of the stuff you want to cover. So I didn't mean to interrupt. I do want to say, because I think both of you have mentioned, there is no Saturday voting at the Fairfax County Government Center until October 14th. So just want to make sure that that's clear.
Yeah, but I also wanted to answer that question because there will be Saturday voting the Saturday after October 14th and through October 31st. So I think that would be 3 Saturdays.
17, 24, and 31.
Right.
Thanks, Jim.
So at really all 15 locations on those 3 dates. So there'll be a lot of Saturday opportunities to vote early.
Okay.
That's about it.
Okay. I have a couple questions. One from Joan Ehrlich. She's asking, and actually maybe we just tie this together. Well, let's ask. I'm going to do this first. Mark Priest is asking, where do people sign up to be for the various observer jobs?
They sign up the DCVA voter protection.
It's exactly vademocrats.org/poll observer singular.
Okay, it's in the chat now too. So good. Okay. Joan Ehrlich asked if she is signed up to be an elections officer on November 3rd, can she still volunteer to be a poll observer? And I'm presumably on another day.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, let me phrase that a different way. We need to get out of the notion that of election day. We are already in the middle of an election. People have been voting in droves, and we need to have people at all locations where people are voting. So yes, early voting locations as well as on November 3rd. Ironically, most Democrats will not be voting on November 3rd. They're going to be voting either by mail or in person.
It'll be the Republicans all on November 3rd.
Mr. Farrell has probably with no masks.
Mr. Farrell has a question for one or both of you.
Actually, Brian, thank you. Yeah, I wanted to get, if Susan Johnson is still on the line, I wanted to tell her, I was at the government center today, a 3-hour line at noon. People have been there since 8 o'clock. Brian, I really think you need to put in writing that this is unacceptable. This is the 4th day. And we need to get communication to Jeff McKay. Apparently the problem is that all the conference rooms have been committed to other functions, and that's why they can't expand voting. Jeff's got to change that. We have to have every conference room available for people to vote. Nobody, Bob Bauer's commission with Ben, what's his name, says nobody should have to wait more than a half an hour to vote. And that really needs intervention by McKay. It's the only way we're going to get these people not to have to stand in line. And thank God it's not raining. The sandwich board, I wanted to tell Susan Johnson that the sandwich board, having gone in and gone out and I was looking for it, because it's a white background, you don't see it. Now the voters are going to see it because they're moving very slowly, but once the line isn't 3 hours long, they need more contrast. I talked to Jack today about that. Kristen, the blue box is not in the actual polling room itself. It's in the lobby immediately in front of the polling room.
Okay, because that's not what Jack told me. Jack goes there every day, so.
Kristen, I was there today.
Okay, so yeah.
And what's important, what I wanted to share that's important for us to share, and I told Jack, but other people need to know this, is you have to use your mailer envelope, not just the ballot envelope, but the mailer envelope. You have to put your ballot in the ballot envelope and then put the ballot envelope in the mailer envelope to put it in a drop box. And that's, otherwise they're not going to count your ballot. They want your ballot envelope in the mailer envelope.
So basically the inner envelope and the outer envelope.
Right, exactly. So the the return mailer envelope, you need to put your ballot in both of those envelopes and before you put it in the drop box. That was a twist to me. The other thing, Brian, I think I'm very concerned, and I said this earlier, they've created this new position called non-routine voter specialist inside the polling places. There are 66 of these people, and they are Republicans. And they're going to be deciding whether or not somebody's a move voter, whether or not somebody is inactive voter, whether or not somebody has to file a provisional. And I think for 66 of those precincts to basically have those kind of decisions being made by Republicans is completely inappropriate. And I don't understand how Kate and Tina let this happen. We had this battle back when it was Cameron Sasnet's great idea, but the idea for our chiefs, who are Democrats, to lose the power to decide whether or not somebody votes a provisional and to have that power be handed over to 66 Republicans is simply outrageous. And there's no justification for it.
Okay, thanks, John. This is, thanks for your comments. We'll see what we're doing. I am talking to Kate and Bettina every day. Obviously, another option that they can possibly do is open some of the other locations earlier. If they can't get space inside the government center itself, they can't change locations, but they can make another location open or other locations open earlier. And I will note that Prince William County, which is smaller than us by it's like a third of the size of Fairfax County, has had more people early vote than Fairfax County so far. But they have 3 locations open. There are a whole bunch of questions in here just generally about how long it takes to get an application to get your ballot once you apply. Look at the use the ballot tracker. Look at and make sure you on the citizen portal you actually requested your ballot, or they have your request. It takes a while to process it just because they've been overloaded. Larry Lipolis asked, what is the Board of Elections to meet its new requirement to review ballots for acceptability within 3 days? Do we know?
That is going to be a problem because they are obligated in legislation passed by the General Assembly to allow voters to correct any defects when they submit the absentee ballot. Common defects are like you forget your signature. You have to have your signature. You don't have to have the witness signature anymore, but you have to have your signature on the envelope that's enclosing the absentee ballot. So how is that going to work as a functional matter? On the application for absentee ballot, there is a provision that you could provide your phone number, but there's not instructions that, we would really need your phone number because we need to be able to call you if there's a defect, if somebody hasn't submitted their phone number to the Office of Elections, and their application is received, say, at the end of October or in November, there's not going to be enough time for them to mail it to you. So providing your phone number is critical. But the other thing that I would highly advise people to do, if you have not received your absentee ballot, you don't receive it, let's say, until late October, do not mail it in. Bring the whole thing in and either put it in the Dropbox, completed, as John was saying, with the whole thing, or exchange it, spoil it and exchange it for a regular ballot at early voting if you can. But don't start mailing it in at the end of October, because it is not likely to be received in time. Now, technically, there is a provision of the law now, that if you have your absentee ballot, you mailed it in and it's postmarked on or before November 3rd, it will count if it's received no later than noon Friday, I think that would be the 6th. Well, anybody who's getting it postmarked on November 3rd,
too late.
It's going to be too late to be received in time. So, that law does not really help any of us. The important thing is we have the drop boxes now going to be in every location, all of the precincts, all of the early voting, all 15 early voting centers. There is no reason to mail it in if you haven't done it, in September, basically. Put it in the Dropbox if you want to vote absentee, or exchange it for a regular ballot. And one other thing, automatically, if you're 65 and older and or have a disability, you are entitled to vote curbside. You show up outside the building, you call the number indicated, and they come to you. So, anybody who fits those categories should vote curbside. They don't have to go into the building. And that is also obviously safer than walking in the building.
Okay, I one last question, I think, or maybe it's a comment, I don't know, from John Wortman.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
So my comment just quickly goes back to Susan Johnson's excellent presentation. And I just wanted to sort of raise a concern or thought around us not having paper sample ballots. And I certainly understand the reasons for not doing it. But, we obviously have the contentious issue of the constitutional provision number 1, redistricting. And we had a very close vote in this committee about taking a position on that issue. And I just want to stress to everyone tonight that our committee did take a no position on constitutional issue number 1 on redistricting. And I think it's very important that when people are speaking to voters at the polls on election day or otherwise in early voting situations, there be a recognition that we have a no position as a committee on issue number 1. You certainly, of course, can share your own personal feelings about the matter with voters or others you discuss it with. But I just want to stress that since we're not going to have paper sample ballots, we took a position on this issue. And we're a no on 1, and I think that needs to be strongly reflected.
Okay, thanks, John. Sorry. Of course, we'll have kind of opportunity to for more. I don't know. I mean, we need to move on. It's 9 o'clock, but it is FCDC's position no on Amendment 1. If you go look at my Twitter or whatever, I have a video about why I think we should, why you should also be no on 1. But I know everyone does not feel the same way. But if you are kind of acting in a capacity at FCDC as an FCDC volunteer, kind of watching the sample ballot sign or encouraging people to do it or whatever, you cannot be also advocating yes for Amendment 1 at the same time. So kind of do that with a separate organization if you'd like to do that. But FCDC kind of efforts will be targeted with our signs, our online sample ballots and everything else for no position on Amendment 1. So thanks. So thanks, Kristen and Stephen, for that. I mean, I know with all the changes and everything that have been going on, I thought this was very important, obviously, for everyone to kind of understand all the things that are going on. I just want to make one other comment before I kick you out of the talking room. And I didn't want to bring it up, but a number of people have mentioned about it. Some people have received more than one ballot. I don't think it's a common problem. I think it's a very small problem. But at least some of the FCDC members on this call have mentioned that they've received more than one ballot. What I have been told is that they're instructing people to only cast one of them and discard the other one. With all the tracking information on the ballot, they will not and cannot count more than one of the same ballot. And I think they probably would go after you if you try to cast more than one. So I don't know if they know how big of a problem this is. I think they knew of 2 instances earlier today, but it seems like maybe it's a more common problem. But don't freak out. You know, I think Republicans are probably more likely to freak out than us. They are only counting one ballot. Go ahead, Kristen.
Can these voters who are getting double ballots, are they getting the exact same ballot and their ballot? So basically we have a Beyer ballot, a Wexton ballot, and a Connolly ballot.
And
everything else being the same. And I'm going to hope that this smattering of voters that are receiving 2 ballots by mistake, that they're, number one, the ballot for their congressional district. And if indeed that's correct, you vote just one of 2 of the same ballot. But please, if you're receiving more than one ballot, make sure you vote the ballot in which it's your congressional district. And we would love to know if for some reason you're getting a ballot that's a double or a triple or even your one and only ballot that could perhaps be the wrong congressional district to you. So please check for that.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. So I think we need to move on, but thanks everyone for your questions. I mean, I think that was a kind of a great discussion. I'm going to send Kristen and Stephen out so that I can bring Janice in. So we'll move on to Janice Yohai, Vice Chair of Voter Registration and Education. Janice, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, hi. I don't know how to start. Here we go. Start my video. Okay. Hi. Hi. Thank you. I did want to say a couple of things. I think it's really important for us to know how much our efforts at Electing Democrats have done to make this coming election as democratic as it can be in the face of Donald Trump with his shenanigans. We have so many things going for us on the basis of what's happened in the General Assembly, what's happened in the Fairfax County. And I think that we really owe much to our elected officials in how they have made this election much more of a good thing. I mean, it could be so bad, and so much of what they've done, I think we should be thanking them for. We don't have a witness signature requirement on the absentee ballot, And I got my absentee ballot myself today, and actually I just finished doing the video of how to complete your absentee ballot. And there's nowhere on the absentee ballot that it even says, you know, be sure you have your witness present. I was expecting the A envelope to say, don't open this envelope until you have a witness present. It doesn't say that. It's great. The absentee ballot is excellent. I think that the Office of Elections did an incredible job in totally revamping it. It's really very well done. We should also know that the Democrats made anybody, regardless of their ID, able to vote. They don't even have to really have one if they sign a statement saying that they are who they are. I think it really opens up our voting, our electorate to everybody. And while we all know this, and it's so obvious to us that everybody can vote early, not everybody knows this. Everyone still believes you have to qualify for voting early. So we have to spread the basic message to people. People do not know this, but anybody can vote early right now. And there's a 45-day voting season. There's no longer an election day. It's a season of voting. Thanks to Dems, we, like everyone says, we have drop boxes at every voting location, and hopefully by next Monday, as Kristen said, we'll have the 24-hour a day, 7-day a week drop box at the Fairfax Government Center, which means there's no waiting in lines. No one has to wait in line. You see the lines on TV. You can just walk up, if you can walk, to the drop box and drop in a single completed ballot in its correct envelope at one time, a single ballot. Thanks to Democrats, we have 3 more early voting locations to expand the locations of these drop boxes and places to vote early in person. But I really wanted to say that the absentee ballot is fabulous. It's in an envelope that won't get lost among all the other mail you receive. The sequence of the inserts is logical. The A envelope does not have anything about stop before you have a witness present. The B envelope is very clear on the back what you have to complete. They've copied our voter registration pre-highlighted forms and use yellow highlight where you have to fill in your name and address. You don't have to complete the witness signature. The mistake that people sometimes make is they put their birthday, so the day of completing the ballot. That's one thing they didn't say, today's date. But other than that, it's very well done. The instructions are a single page with all the languages on it. It's step by step. It's not so convoluted. You don't want to read them at all. It's very well done. And the return envelope is also another colored envelope, and it tells you what to put. It tells you how to do it very clearly. So I just want to make that clear that I think the absentee ballots are very well done. And the one ask I want to make is that the Voter Registration and Education Committee has prided itself for years on getting in touch with the student population, the hard to reach populations, the populations that speak other languages, first-time voters, voters without the usual ID. And it's very difficult to do that in this time of COVID. So I'm asking each of you to focus on the student population. If you know of a college student or parent of a college student, I think the best way for them to vote this year is to request their absentee ballot and have it sent to their home address. So even if they're away from school, at any moment they might have to come home. They might be in quarantine. They might, school might close up because too many kids have COVID. If they send their absentee ballot to their home address, somebody at home can forward it to them if need be, or they can vote without it as well. But I think if they request an absentee ballot and have it sent to their home address, it will enable them to have a better chance of getting their ballot, their vote counted this year. Thank you.
Thanks, Janice. I think I'm not sure that there are two questions in here, but I'm not sure. User list to encourage registration to vote have not specified citizenship status. How is this being addressed?
Where is this?
I'm not sure. Obviously, you have to be a citizen to vote, to register to vote. I don't know. That's how. That's really the question. The other is which I think probably is a question for maybe for Stephen and Kristen. Is will there be a push to get Spanish speakers to places where it is appropriate at the satellite locations, for example, the Thomas Jefferson Library? And I think that's obviously a good point, but we'll have to look into that. I don't think we know. The website for tracking your vote is, or the easiest way to get to it is ffxvotes.org. Okay.
I do want to say
Go ahead.
about the Spanish population. We have completed distributing over 20,000 cards at apartment complexes in Mason, Lee, and Providence predominantly. So that's out there.
Yeah, and one other thing that someone had mentioned, we are doing, to people who request absentee ballots, we are sending them a postcard that has a sample ballot on it. It's not a regular sample ballot or whatever, and we're using democratic targeting for it. It's the normal kind of absentee chase type of thing. But just since a lot of people are voting absentee or requesting absentee ballots, that was our one way to try to send a sample ballot to people. We don't have the money to send a sample ballot to every person we think is a Democrat in Fairfax County. I would love to do that. But unfortunately, we're not completely rolling in money. So thanks, Janice.
Okay.
I think next is Terry Bell. And I'm going to line up the rest of our report. So thanks again, Janice. Hey, Terry, you're on mute. There you go. Or still can't hear you. There
How
you
about
go.
now? Okay. I want to emphasize two things. First of all, you've probably saw that Wednesday at 5:30, that's tomorrow, we're having a program called Voting 2020, How, When, and Where. Our guest speaker is Kate Hanley and Marcus Simon. And we're hoping that that will answer some of the questions that still remain out there from our volunteers, especially in the different areas. Please do sign up. I think Jack has the link up now. That's number one. Number two, it's come across our kind of committee many times, and we've ID'd this issue in 2018 in our survey. However, it has become more of an issue. We've had more and more people speak to us about that, and that issue is age discrimination. It has risen in importance for the committee based on the many of the 50+ experiences that were brought to our attention as a party of inclusion and of requiring, cultural and social justice. We feel on the 50+ that this is an issue that we need to start a conversation about a little bit more and to do some a little bit more intent research on. Therefore, I recognize that a majority of the people on this call, at least I think they are, that they're definitely over the age of 45. So any of you that are over the age of 50 or 55 and you have come into contact or experienced age discrimination, either through bullying or job, especially with the COVID-19 situation or in a social situation, please let us know about it. We certainly will keep those experiences to ourselves, but we really would like to record these experiences down so that we can, if we need to, work on some legislation that would kind of help or increase or maybe formulate a study a little bit more, we'd certainly like to get that to the General Assembly in January. But anyway, a conversation has to start, and we're hoping that we can start it here. Thank you.
I can't hear anything. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good. I can't hear, I couldn't hear anyone else. Thank you. I don't know how you did it, but I'm glad you unmuted me. Yes, I wanted to make a report from the National Affairs Committee that we are going to have a forum, which I'd call a unique and informative and terrifying forum, which we're entitling Trump Unhinged, on the evening of October 14th at 7 p.m., the day before the second presidential debate. The forum will consist of two speakers, one of which is Dr. Justin Frank, former clinical professor of psychiatry at GW and author of Trump on the Couch, Inside the Mind of the President. He will provide an overview psychoanalysis of Trump and analyze selected segments of Trump's debate performance from the September 29th presidential debate. The second speaker we will have is Colonel Lawrence Wilkerson. He is an advisory member of the Transition Integrity Project, also a professor now at William and Mary. And you know him probably as he was the former chief of staff to Colin Powell. The Transition Integrity Project was set up to examine the time period before the end of the election results and the inauguration. And he's going to talk about the entire process of this. They conducted with Democrats and Republicans a four scenarios, kind of war gaming it. And he's going to discuss the process, the results, and the recommendations. And I will tell you, as you probably some of you have read, it's very frightening. But this should be a completely unique and interesting forum to set you up for the second presidential debate. So I hope you will all join us.
So apparently I was talking to myself, Sandra, when I could hear you, but thank you so much for your report. I have, and I sadly don't have pictures for the people who didn't pre-submit that they'd like to make a report, but Eddie, go ahead. Eddie is chair of our Labor Standing Committee.
Yes, Brian. Tomorrow at 7:30, Jack has the Zoom details. I do too. My last name is EITCHES at Verizon.net, but the Labor Committee will be meeting for 1 hour starting at 7:30. For the first 15 minutes, Delegate Rip Sullivan will talk about worker issues during the special session and the likelihood of getting anything out of the state Senate. And then Bill Fletcher, who's probably one of the great labor scholars we have, will talk about the new right-wing populism and then the way to combat it for the in reference to the November election, especially as to workers. That's it.
Okay, thanks, Eddie. Nellie had her hand raised earlier, and I'm not sure if she wants to. She had her rant, maybe it was about something else, but I'll see if she would like to talk. Oh. Nellie, do you have a report? And I'm not hearing her, so maybe not. So let's move on because I know we have. Oh no, what was that? Because we still have three kind of new business items that to take care of, and I apologize that, but here we are. So I'd like to unmute Matthew Savage, who is probably one of our youngest members, definitely the youngest member of the State Central Committee for DPVA, to talk about this motion. And I apologize, it's hard to show an entire the resolution on the screen. So if you need to see it yourself, go to your email again. There are links in the email that also has a link to the survey to see the full details of the resolution. So go ahead, Matthew.
Thank you, Mr. Sherman. For those who aren't aware, last year the Fairfax County School Board adopted a change to their student attendance policy that allows middle and high school students to take a partial day excused absence once a year to partake in a civic or political event. So meeting with a legislator, attending a protest, or a walkout. So these students of FCPS, including myself, are allowed to take that half a day once a year, provided they have parental consent and that the absence is prearranged. So there's no difference in the process between arranging this civic engagement absence and like an absence if I had a doctor's appointment. And this policy has been largely successful in energizing students to get politically active. There's been no major change in the Virginia Department of Education's measurement of chronic absenteeism in FCPS from the 2018 to 19 school year to the 2019 to 2020 school year when this was implemented. So it was a successful policy, and it was successfully piloted here in Fairfax County, which we're all very proud of our school board for doing. And this resolution was adopted in July by the Virginia Young Democrats Teen Caucus that I chair, which is the official teen high school wing of the Democratic Party of Virginia. And we just called on the General Assembly to take this initiative statewide, to amend state attendance law so that every middle and high school student across the Commonwealth can take that half a day to go to Washington or to go to Richmond or even to the local school board or the Board of Supervisors so that they can fight for their policy interests or that they can learn about the civic or political process. So we adopted the resolution in July, and since then we've found several members of both houses, House and Senate of the General Assembly, who are interested in introducing this legislation come with the 2021 regular General Assembly session. And the language for the bill is currently being drafted by the Division of Legislative Services. So this resolution before FCDC tonight, it's the same as the one the Teen Caucus adopted in July. And it's in effect saying that FCDC supports the move to take this initiative statewide. This resolution, the same resolution, is currently pending before the DPVA Resolutions Committee. In addition to being adopted by the Teen Caucus, it's been adopted by the 8th Congressional District Democratic Committee, and it's been endorsed, I should say, by 2 of FCDC's standing committee, Standing Committee on Youth Affairs and the Standing Committee on Education. So every time this resolution has come to a vote, and it's come to 4 different votes, it's not only been adopted, it's been adopted unanimously. So I have hope that it will also be adopted unanimously tonight before FCDC.
So Matthew, while you're unmuted, would you like to formally move that FCDC adopts this motion or this resolution?
Yes, I move to adopt the motion.
Okay, is there a second? Maria Burrell has seconded. Is there any discussion? I know, and Sandra Clausen will kill me for not accepting her formatting changes or whatever, but we will put it in your preferred format. That I think it's the DPVA preferred resolution format. We will change the formatting. The formatting is not material to the resolution itself, but when we publish it or whatever, we will have it in that format. Are there? I'm not seeing any questions. Or wait, hold on. Someone has their hand raised. Maritza, go ahead.
I was just said that I moved to approve that the vote.
Okay, well, I'll count that as a third. Okay, and Sandra, I know it's late, so and I know I know you made changes for clarity, but I don't want to get caught up in formatting if we don't have to.
Can I speak? I don't know if I'm unmuted. I just wanted to say I actually did not at all relating to formatting. But I think this may have to have a vote. I wanted to change the title and the wording of one paragraph that is substantive. Is that necessary for a vote?
Well, yes, if we needed to change, well, I mean, the title, it's as long as we're not actually changing the meaning. I didn't think
so
your
the
changes
title's
actually changed the
irrelevant.
meaning. It was just editorial. It was just you.
Yeah, it was. It was just a change title, and I wanted to be sure everybody was okay with it. But on paragraph number 7, I think it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The one substantive amendment I would make is in the wording is it started out saying it said that it was as a result of the that the youth vote falls behind other generations as a result of, and I was just going to say I'd change it to the fact that the youth vote today consistently falls behind other generations may partly be a result of the aforementioned obstructed civil engagement, because it isn't factually the case. We don't have evidence to say it is absolutely the result of that. I just wanted it to be more accurate. So it's a very small thing. I don't know if it needs a vote to change, but that is my amendment. It would be the fact that the youth vote today consistently falls behind other generations may partly be a result of the aforementioned obstructed civil engagement.
Is there any objection? I guess there is. So, well, Sandra, if you would, I guess it's you're moving then to amend the resolution to, and I guess
I'm moving to amend that one paragraph because stating that it is the reason is not accurate. There's no proof that it absolutely, by putting a may in there, the fact that the youth vote today consistently falls behind other generations may partly be a result of the aforementioned obstructed civil engagement is actually something you can assert accurately. The way it was written before you can't really assert it. You can't prove it. By changing the may, you can assert it.
Let me see if I'll mark up. Okay, so this is you're making a motion for the amendment. Is there a second to the amendment? Larry, I don't know if you're raising your hands to second it, or if you are just okay. Greg Brandon has seconded the amendment. Okay. Okay, so so now we need to and Matthew, I think Sandra's already talked about it. Matthew, I'll let you talk since it's moved and seconded on this, or maybe you can control it yourself. I guess speak for or against this amendment.
Are we voting on the amendment or on whether the amendment is in order? Because in my judgment, it's not in order.
So you're trying to make a point of order that
yeah, I guess.
I mean, in this, at least in my view, in the chair's view, I think it is in order, just because it doesn't really change. I mean, we're really talking about we're talking about a whereas versus the therefore. What we're resolved, and it's the supporting information is not really changing. What we're kind of asking is just it's just kind of editorial around what we're actually asking of FCDC. But with that said, would you like to speak in opposition to the amendment?
Yeah, so I'm not going to appeal that. I'm not going to waste everyone's time with that. I just say this resolution has been adopted by the Teen Caucus, by the 8th Congressional District Democratic Committee. It's currently pending before the state, the DPVA Resolutions Committee. It really isn't a good idea to start making changes now when it's already been adopted by these other committees. And there were already opportunities when it was before the standing committees to make these changes. And then second, on that's why I'm opposed to any amendments in general, but just this specific amendment, I just don't feel it's necessary. The people that know what obstructs civic engagement, that's the Teen Caucus. We're the young people. We know what obstructs civic engagement. The Teen Caucus yields to no one when it comes to energizing young people about politics. It says partly. I don't see how that can be a problem. It's one of the reasons. Sure, there are other reasons, but it's just one of the many reasons that civic engagement and the decline in voter registration is so low. So I urge everyone to vote against this amendment.
Okay, I think Sandra has already kind of explained her justification for it, and in not seeing other people. So we need to vote, and I'm asking if we are ready, go ahead and kind of put it up. But we will vote to amend as it appears on the screen to change it to reverse the sentence and add the word may. To say that it may partly be a result of the aforementioned obstructed civic engagement that Youth Vote consistently falls behind. And so we would just be voting not on the full resolution at this point, but whether or not we're changing the resolution to include Sandra's changes. So let's go ahead and put up the poll if we can. There it is. And so just to repeat it again, we're not voting on the full resolution. We're voting on whether or not we're changing the resolution as it was submitted originally by Matthew and passed by other committees. Okay, I'm going to give another 15 seconds for voting. Okay, last call for voting. So the motion just barely carries to adopt the amendment to the resolution. So now the motion on the floor is would be to accept the resolution as it has been changed. Let's see if I can get it to kind of show up with this particular kind of sentence as it is now. But with the therefore be it resolved that that the General Assembly that we're asking the General Assembly to pass legislation statewide amending attendance law to permit middle and high school students across Virginia to miss half a day of school to engage in civic or events, and that every Democratic member of the Virginia General Assembly to reiterate their commitment to policies that further enfranchise young activists across the Commonwealth. This resolution was provided to FCDC with enough notice, so we only need a majority resolution to pass it. There has been a question from a member of the committee for Matthew if we should still vote in favor of this altered resolution. So Matthew, I guess the membership would like to hear.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I still urge you, all the members of the committee, to vote in favor of the resolution. I think it's weakened the case for this, but I think it's still calling on the General Assembly to pass this bill that we have next year. So I think it's still not as good as I hoped it would be, but I still urge you to vote in favor of it.
Okay, thank you, Matthew. Matthew, let's call the question then for voting on whether or not FCDC will approve this resolution. Oh, why do I keep on playing it? To increase civic political engagement. And I'm not seeing the poll. There. This is to approve it as amended. Okay, I think it's pretty clear. So I'm going to go ahead and end polling and share the results. And not quite unanimous, Matthew, unfortunately, but still a resounding support of your resolution. So thank you for bringing it to FCDC. Okay, next, bylaws amendment to add a Black Caucus as a standing committee. So I am as chair, and I don't know if this is entirely appropriate. I guess I'll ask for this to be moved, but it was my suggestion that we do this. The steering committee of FCDC has approved recommendations from the Black Task Force, and one of those recommendations includes creating a permanent standing committee before the end of the year. And the only way we can do that is if we approve it today. With that said, there's still a kind of a task force, as I mentioned earlier, that's outstanding, that is working on this issue. But the hope is that they would incorporate the Black Caucus into whatever those plans are. I guess there's a motion by Daniel Press and a second by Brian Scrafford to do so. Are there any comments or questions on this? And to clarify, Mr. Farrell, we do not have caucuses. This is a standing committee. For now, this is a standing committee that is called the Black Caucus Standing Committee. I see a couple hands raised, so I'm going to go through the hands. I don't see any other questions. Maritza, go ahead.
I didn't raise my hand. I'm so sorry.
Okay. Mr. Farrell, and I can unmute you if you like. From the task force was to use the term a Black non-African American. Do you have any other comment?
Well, I think it's misleading to call it a caucus. Caucus is something that is at the state committee. So the recommendation is not to have an African American, but okay, Black Affairs Committee, as opposed to a caucus, because caucuses have a whole different meaning under the state party plan. And the idea here is to have this be a standing committee. So that's why I just think to use the term caucus when we have no such provision in our bylaws causes confusion.
Okay, thank you. Let's see who else. I think I have George. All right, I thought Dan Press was here with his hand raised, but not. Maritza, you have your hand raised again. I'll go to George Becerra.
Thanks, Brian. Well, first of all, thanks for gearing it to the way from last general membership meeting where it got tabled to the African American Task Force. So just wanted to, if you can explain a little bit more, just a little more conceptual of this request, obviously open up this avenue for other quote unquote caucuses, Hispanic, Asian American, and so forth. And then also open up to, if you recall from last month, my two requests of also, with steering committee. So if you can kind of, give it a general overview for our members to what's occurring and connecting the dots and everything, and also with the survey and what have you.
Sure. So the I failed to mention this in my maybe I'll go on camera again or whatever. I failed to mention this in my report, but FCDC did send out a survey. It was with the second email about this meeting. We'd love to know more about the diversity of FCDC, kind of the things that and also the things you're willing to do now that we're in COVID. What kind of volunteer activities you want to do? So. So please fill out that survey. That's going to help us focus on areas that we need to grow and improve our diversity. The second part of that question, and the reason that I've created a task force is because, to Mr. Farrell's point, we do not have caucuses in our bylaws. Caucuses are kind of a separate idea or concept that comes from the DPVA. But the idea, the idea that it was suggested by Mr. Becerra earlier in our meetings and it was tabled. Well, one was tabled and one was referred to a task force, which I've created. The idea is that we will come up with kind of a construct of caucuses and create additional caucuses, but to kind of meet the desire and not wait, so that we are responding to the desires of the Black Task Force. We push forward in creating. So this is my idea, but I guess we'll see what happens, right? Push forward in creating a standing committee that will be repurposed as when we add additional caucuses. So just to not wait on the work that will come out of that task force and the subsequent, I guess, 2 times we have to pass an FCDC general meeting, so that we are waiting less, right? We can have this permanent committee of some type before the end of the year.
Brian,
could you
pass along, I don't know if it's appropriate or not, the recommendations that came out of the African American Issues Task Force, or is that too much information?
No, well, I don't know that I have them to share right now, but we will send them to everyone. If I thought we were going to, maybe it was, I'll make sure that they get sent to everyone. But just from I don't know where I can find them myself right now. If Jack finds them or something before then, that's fine. But we will definitely share them with membership after this. Cisco Minthorn, Cisco.
Hi, I just wanted to ask, how does the Black Caucus differ from the Diversity Committee?
That's a great question. So and FCDC kind of has a diversity committee, and it also has an outreach. Interestingly enough, diversity is for outreach to just in general, not necessarily kind of focused on anyone in particular, but it improved to the diversity outreach to the diversity of Fairfax County, and then outreach is actually more about kind of improving the diversity of FCDC. I think what we're seeing though is that we're going to and we're going to see potentially kind of the roles of those committees kind of change, maybe more of coordination, working together types of things, versus specific targeted outreach to communities or issues for communities. But I think some of that remains to be seen based off of what happens with this task force. There are, I guess, 2 other questions, and then I'm seeing chats, but I'm seeing 2 specific questions. One, will the committee from Edward Levine, will the committee be open to non-Black members? Will any subsequent caucus? So the committee that's being created right now is a standing committee, which means that it still has all the definitions of an FCDC standing committee where a district can appoint people to it. There is no requirement that a person would be Black based off of any of those requirements, or nor in what is posted here in the bylaws change. And I don't know if it's a particular question or comment, but Larry Mills says Black is specifically that, not a general cause. Female is diversity, so is LGBTQ. I just didn't read that as a question, but it was sent to questions, so I have sent that live. If there, oh, Liz, okay, I don't, okay, Kelly Hebron. Go ahead.
Hi, Brian. Hi, everyone. I had the privilege of chairing the Black Caucus. And the Black Caucus was formed out of a mission to kind of make sure we have engagement and to also make sure that we are responsive to some of the issues that are rising in the country right now. And how we as a party, as a committee, can make sure we are engaged. The Black Caucus was one of the recommendations that came out of the task force. The idea is that it addresses the issues of Black members of FCDC, similar to the LGBTQ, similar to women's rights, similar to veterans and military affairs. These are all very specific affinity groups, specific to their issue. And one of the concerns, one of the message, one of the things we heard frequently from the Black Task Force is that we're not just lumped into a group of diversity. We are a demographic where we are seeing some of the issues that are unique to our demographic of our affinity group, that we are Black. And so that's why we're moving forward as a Black task force, Black caucus, because our issues are unique to our demographic. But we welcome everyone. And our task force was very diverse and encompassed a number of voices. And so this is also a great start for how we are going to include and welcome Black members, current members, and new members as they walk in. Many schools have Black student unions, student association. At my law school, many law schools, there's a Black Student Law Association. And so it's not uncommon to have these types of affinity groups, if you will. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you. And I think maybe last we have Nellie. Although Nellie, I think I tried to allow you to talk earlier and had issues. Okay. There are some chat comments I see, but I'm not seeing any other questions or hand raised. Let's go ahead and call the question then. So this would, to be clear, this is a resolution to amend the bylaws. A bylaws amendment has to be passed by the vetting members by a 2/3 vote of voting members present at a majority vote of voting members present at 2 consecutive regular meetings. So we would have to do that at this meeting and at the next meeting. So let's go ahead and pull the question forward. And I will say, people are talking about disability interest groups and things like that. I think the idea, we'll see things that happen with this task force, hopefully, where we can kind of create more affinity groups. Oops. Okay, most people have voted, so just another 10 seconds or so. Okay, the results are now shared, and it passes its first reading. So thank you. And then last on the pre-planned new business is a resolution on climate change mitigation and FCPS. Looking for Kat. And I'm not seeing her. What? Kat, can you raise your hand? Okay. There we go. I need to rename you though. Okay, Kat, would you like to speak about your resolution?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Can you show video by any chance, or just keep it at the resolution? Okay, let's keep. Thank you. June this summer, Prince William County School Board passed a really far-reaching and substantial measures for their schools to start, to start mitigating climate change. As we know, watching the California fires and the fires out west, thank you, John. Out west, we know that climate change is here. It's here right now. The time to act is now, and we have to start acting boldly. The year 2035 has been identified by scientists as the point of no return, and that is in 15 years. And I'll also say that the schools, Fairfax County Public Schools, they did pass a climate mitigation resolution back in October of 2018. And if you'll allow me, I would just like to read some of their points. And nothing has happened since this resolution has been made. I mean, there are some things going on right now, but 2 years have elapsed and the school system hasn't done anything. So their October 11, 2018 resolution, the whereases are an overwhelming majority of credited scientists in the US and abroad support and find that climate change is happening and that human activity is a key contributor. Whereas if left unaddressed, the consequences of climate change will harm all Americans, most especially children and those living in poverty, and saddle future generations with the costly burden of a dangerously damaged planet. Whereas climate instability is a global challenge requiring bold initiative and sustained actions at all levels of government, local, state, and federal. I'll leave it there. So this resolution was passed in 2018. We need to act boldly at the government, local, state, and federal level, but nothing has really happened at FCPS for these last 2 years. Meanwhile, Arlington has got a net zero school. So we've written this resolution. It actually is the Prince William County School Board's resolution. We just, we flipped the order a little bit. We feel very strongly in the Environmental Committee. We've got to create and implement a K through 12 sustainability and climate change curriculum to our future generation. We have to teach these young people who will be our leaders in the next generation. The way that we're living is destroying our earth. We cannot continue to live the way that we're living. To teach them about how to live a sustainable life. The great news is Fairfax County Public Schools has an amazing sex education program that starts in kindergarten. It goes all the way through 12th grade. My children know more about STDs and body parts than I know. So the great news is Fairfax County Public Schools can follow their family life education format, and they can just apply it for sustainability. Also, our schools, our recycling is a joke. I don't know if anyone has been able to walk through the schools. I've talked to a teacher. She said she's tried talking to the principal of one school, and the principal just sort of discarded her. There in the hallways, there's not recycling bins. You know, you end up throwing cardboard boxes and bottles into the regular trash. I've seen the cleaning people just taking the pails, the recycling for paper pails in the classroom and just throwing it into the regular trash. We have got to lead by example. We can't tell these kids this is bad, and yet we're still selling plastic bottles and we don't have recycling bins. So that is the number 2, and this is that we lead by example. Number 3, really important, we did diverge from Prince William on this. They asked for, you know, all new fleet of electric buses. We know that's not practical for Fairfax County, but we do ask when a diesel or 1,625 diesel school buses, when that diesel school bus reaches its end of life, please do not buy another diesel school bus. Please buy an electric school bus. And the rest of these are just taken from the Prince William County School Board resolution. So,
Okay, so would you like to therefore move the resolution?
yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve this resolution.
Is there a second? There are seconds. Phil, I see you typing in.
Brian, you're muted.
I will say that this is what requires a 2/3 vote. Are there any questions? Raising your hand. Anyone have any comments? I know it's late. Okay. Go ahead, Mark Tenney. You're still on mute, Mark. I can't hear Mark. Can anyone else hear Mark? No. Okay. Ken Wheeler, let's go to you since you haven't said anything today.
Could we just, without having to vote a bunch of stuff, if it just spell out the acronym LEAD and the acronym JET?
Sure.
That's fine. Without objection. Mark, I see you're unmuted, but I can't hear you, so you might have to check your microphone. I guess I'll go to Sandra. Sorry, are you there, Sandra?
Yes, let's see. Am I unmuted?
Yes.
Hear you.
I just wanted you to clarify, there was a question. I did submit the reformatted version to FCDC and to CAT. And I just wondered if you wanted to clarify that the reformatted version would be what we're actually voting on.
That's fine. We're not. I don't think formatting is material, but that's fine.
Well, that's what I meant. It isn't material, but someone asked about it. That's why I brought that to your attention.
Okay. Mark, I'll give you one more shot. On the phone, which okay. Let's see. There's one. Mark, is that you?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I didn't know to press *6 when you're using the telephone. Okay. As you know, I sent you an amendment proposal, and for the others, that the issue of the solar panels on the school roofs, that there would be a 30-year contract, and that if the school board or Black or Hispanic groups or parent groups decided they came out in favor of smaller schools, this is something pushed by the Gates Foundation, which provides money to help make schools smaller. And there's some studies saying that this helps many people succeed better. There are also studies that don't find it as helpful, but the idea is that the school board or Blacks or Hispanics may decide they think it would be helpful. They might decide that a year from now, 5 years, 10 years. But then we have these contracts that lock in our schools for 30 years with these solar panels on the roof, and we can't make our schools smaller. So I wanted to avoid that. I sent in a lengthy amendment relating to that issue.
So can I ask you a question? Which part of this resolution says that we are tying ourselves to 30-year contracts?
Okay, that would be down. We talked about it in the education meeting. Kat?
If I can. So Mark, it's number 5. And so I appreciated that comment. I did change number 5. You know, I grabbed it from Prince William County. So I started with install solar panels. And then at the very end, I wrote consider entering into power purchasing agreements and those other things. So I changed the word to consider entering.
That certainly helps. I'd like something though in there to the expression of that we would be able to withdraw from the contract without a penalty for the purpose of changing school size, helping Black or Hispanic students, or helping students in general.
So, I mean, certainly we can kind of approach this if it's necessary. I mean, the part that I have highlighted, and you know, and I don't think it's necessary to tell the school board exactly what to do either, right? But it does say kind of retrofitting opportunities for older schools where appropriate. You know, I just don't know how much we want to sit here and because the amendment that you made, and I can pull it over here, kind of changes whereas is, and I don't know exactly how it fits. So into the original resolution. So without understanding how it fits into the resolution, and it's, what time is it? After 10 o'clock. You know, I don't want to sit here and edit this if you think there's additional changes that need to be made. So if we do need to make additional changes to this, my suggestion would be that we send it somewhere else to do so. But if you'd like to make that motion, but I don't think that we're going to be able to. I don't think we're going to be able to work out the wording of that amendment that you've suggested in this meeting.
Okay, well, I'll make a motion that we. I think it's important that the schools not get locked into being able to downsize or change their size, and you know, which is something they might change, and people's minds might change in 5 years.
Right.
And decide.
I did change it to consider entering into different.
So Kat, sorry, hold on. Before we get into that, Mark, I guess you're making a motion to
send it back to committee to add
send
language.
it back to the Environment Committee to consider adding language to handle this issue.
Right.
Is there a second to doing that? And if you're raising your hand, I'm not considering that a second. I have seconds now in chat and in QA. So
can I please pipe in?
We can.
Can I please make a comment?
Hold on a second. Yeah, so we can, since we're referring this back to committee, yes, we can have debate. So go ahead, Kat.
How about if we add under the consider issuing your own 30-year bond, or however he would like me to say it.
Well, my point is I don't want to sit here and try to edit it and have with hundreds of people on the phone sit here and kind of go through editing the words. So if we can't, we're basically my option or my preferred options are we either refer this or we pass it, right? So
okay.
Is there any other so we will vote on whether we're referring it back to the Environment Committee for to handle this issue.
I'm not able to vote.
Oh, okay. Well,
I cannot vote. Okay.
We didn't include the thing, so you can vote. But if it's close enough, obviously, we'll consider your vote. Okay. Most people have voted. Go ahead and please cast your votes. I'll give it another 10 seconds. Apparently sometime, or depending on your device, you might have to look for the polls tab. Okay, 5 more seconds. Okay, the motion to table, or not, well, it's not actually to table, it was to motion to refer, but the motion to refer it back to the Environment Committee passes, and the resolution will go back to the Environment Committee for discussion. Thanks, Kat, for bringing it forward. I would also just kind of suggest making sure that the school board's kind of, and I know we talked about this, but maybe reach out to more members of the school board, get their input on what they're already doing as well. So thank you for continuing to advocate in this area. Is there any other new business? Okay, seeing no new business, let's go to announcements. And we'll be very quick because okay, 2 announcements really quick. And I'll go back on camera. Really quick, 2 things. One, FCDC, and I know some people asked about this, where FCDC is getting a huge shipment of Biden-Harris signs this week. So at some point, we're working with our landlord to get a good time where we can sit outside of FCDC headquarters. People can drive by and get one of those signs, maybe one of our three name signs, maybe congressional district or congressional candidate signs. So it's coming. I just wanted to let you know about it. We will send an email about that soon. And then second, we're doing a series of debate watch party events. Go to fairfaxdems.org/2020 debate 1. We're using the same platform. If you were one of the people that graciously supported us in our Jefferson Obama dinner, we're using that same platform. So we'll be able to watch the debate together and chat with each other about the nonsense that Donald Trump will be spewing. So we'd love to see you join us. If there are, I know, if raise your hand if you have an announcement. I already have one person in the queue for an announcement. Nora Dell, go ahead.
Can you hear me, Brian?
Yes.
Perfect. So I just wanted to announce that a group of us have gotten together to start up a text bank every Monday for Elaine Luria, who has one of the most vulnerable House seats in Virginia. And so if you are maybe looking for a little bit of a change of pace from phone banking every week, it's on Mondays from 7 to 9. And I think I can drop the link in the chat. So yeah, we'd love to see you there.
Great. And just if you're looking for anything, just go on to Mobilize. You'll be able to find all kinds of things to do, especially as we head into the core of this election. Kelly Hebron.
Yep. Am I unmuted?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Kelly Hebron, and I'm chair of Lee Dems. We are hosting our end of summer back to school community social. We are so excited that we have a Food Network fame, goodies, frozen treats, custard and treats. They're, yep, I see folks, they're ready for M Goodies. M Goodies is a Wisconsin style custard. They were top 4 in the country. For Food Network, on the Food Network, and we are glad to have them. We're lucky to have them. They're going to bring their turtle pecan sundae. They're going to bring their apple cinnamon donut witch, and for a gluten-free and a vegan-free option, we're offering fruit pops. From 3 to 5 on Saturday. Tickets start at $15. We hope to see everyone there. Thank you very much.
And Kelly, I'm gonna have I'm gonna bring Biden Harris signs to that too. We can hand out.
Awesome. I'll make sure I'll post that. Thank you.
So get some custard and some Biden Harris signs.
Awesome.
I'm looking forward to it. Ken Wheeler, do you have an announcement?
No, I'm sorry. I just forgot to lower my hand
it's okay.
from before.
Yeah. Terry Bell.
Brian, just a reminder for everybody about tomorrow, September 23rd from 5:30 to 6:30, Voting 2020, discussion of how, when, and where, joined by Kate Hanley and Marcus Simon. It's a good table discussion.
Thanks, Terry. And last but definitely not least, Nairi Wright.
Hey, Brian. Actually, I was just going to put this in the chat, but we're also going to have some materials from the Fairfax County Department of Health on the latest and greatest guidelines for COVID and some free face masks and things of that nature. So that'll be at our event at the Goodies event on Saturday.
Oh, great. And then Matthew kind of threw his stand in there. Go ahead, Matthew.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Go ahead.
Yeah, so the resolution we adopted tonight, we have a petition. I see a few people from members of FCDC have already signed it, but I'll put it in the chat. We have a petition going to support that effort by us.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. There being no additional business before the committee, we are adjourned. Our next meeting as a county is November 24th. The week of Thanksgiving. That won't actually be a Thanksgiving probably this year, or a very small Thanksgiving, right? But thanks for sticking with me until 10:15 for everyone that did. And, go vote, get your friends to vote, help all these congressional candidates and Senate candidates across the country and Virginia, and we will win in November. Thanks, everyone.